Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I'm just getting myself ready for going out fishing at the moment. I'm sorting out this little chest rig, and I've taken a lot of stuff out. I'm going to be adding some fishing lures and things and some extra line, also fish shears. I did have a little birch bark cover for these. I don't know, yeah, they're not that sharp. I can keep them closed in here maybe. I'll find something to cover them. Yeah, so I used to use a knife a lot more before I discovered these. They're great for fish. Descaler. And I don't do reviews of scissors. What am I on about? I also always like to take a local or a big knife, because apart from being useful for a million other things, works great as a priest, you know, for dispatching your fish quickly. But the other knife that I'm taking today, and it was Grugs from Legion Tacticool Cutlery who drew this knife to my attention, and you'll probably be getting a proper review of him before you get one from me. So I'll put a link to his channel in the description. Please check his channel out. He does some great knife related content, and these are really cheap. This is made by Za-pas in Poland. You see, focus camera. Can you see the logo? You can see the blades looking really scratched. The reason for that is I've been going over that with some really coarse stones, and so BPS knives are very well known, beavercraft knives are very well known. These are a similar price, so on the web shop in Poland, these it's just under €30. They're really cheap. This is what they're calling the Modern Puukko. I've been calling it the Polski Puukko, and it's 80 CRV2 steel, ash scales. The sheath, I mean, for the price, you know, like €30, the sheath's got to be worth that. Nice stitching, a rivet at the top, rivet at the bottom, and it's not the best sheath in the world, but you know, very often if you buy something cheap, if you get a good knife, then the sheath's junk. This knife, the materials are good. I'm not sure about the heat treatment. I've not really put this to the test. I just wanted to quickly explain to people, if you see these knives, you're gonna have to do quite a lot of work on the edge. It comes with a very large secondary bevel, and it just doesn't really cut wood very well. I think when you compare it to the BPS knives and the beavercraft knives, I've got one here. I've got my beavercraft. This is an awesome knife with a belt loop that I've put on it, because the one it comes with is not very good. This sheath's better. Yeah, so this is 1066 carbon steel. This is 80 CRV2. I personally much prefer 80 CRV2. Personal preferences, and also I'm a lot more used to 80 CRV2, so I might be a little bit biased, but I would prefer this steel. But the edge that it comes with, and yeah, I want to take this fishing today. I've been working on the edge this morning. It's not there yet. This reminds me a little bit of one of my all-time favourite knives, the Woods Knife Predator. It's like a high Scandi grind, short blade. This thing is awesome, and it's the same steel, and these cost what, 120 euros. These are 30, so it's a massive difference. But this is after about an hour on the stones. Yeah, it's still it's still not really I don't know how well you can see the difference, but I can really feel the difference. So this still needs a lot more work. So I'm not saying it's a bad knife. I'm not saying it's a good knife yet, because I've taken it to work for one day. I've cut some rope, I've tried to cut some wood. The only issue I really see is it's got a huge secondary bevel, and what I've been trying to do is to take down the primary bevel and to convex off the secondary bevel, and it is getting there. It is actually quite sharp now. It's just the geometry's not there. It's just that secondary bevel is a little bit too steep, and the primary bevel, it's about 20 degrees. It's quite a high Scandi grind, if you want to call it that. It having a secondary bevel, there's a bit of, I hear arguments about whether you could call that a Scandi grind, but with the height of that grind, it's not a bad idea to have something there, some kind of a micro bevel, or for it to be a little bit convexed off to make it less fragile. But yeah, looks like a great knife, requires a bit of work, and also, as if you've got big hands, that handle is really not very big. I have what, size 10 gloves. If my hands were much bigger, then yeah, so if you've got bigger than normal hands, that might be an issue. For me, that's fine. I've not tested the spine out. I can do that now. What have we got here? That seems fine. So the spine seems to work with a ferro rod. It's not really aggressively sharp. No jimping, anything like that. It's just a plain and simple knife with a Puukko style blade. As to whether you could call this a Puukko, well, for one thing, it's not Finnish, and for another thing, it's got a full tang. It's the same as, is it a Scandi grind or is it a sabre grind? Yeah. We could argue about that all day. I really do like the sheath, and I think once I've got that edge sorted out, that's going to be a great knife. Yeah, so I'll have a review of this knife coming maybe in a couple of months when I've put it through its paces a little bit more. But for now, just as if anyone is thinking of buying this knife, it is important to know that it requires a little bit of work. Also, I'll have a review coming of the Rosselli Local quite soon. Also needs to be put through its paces a little bit more. And yeah, don't forget to check out Gruggs' channel, Legion Tacticool Cutlery, link in the description. Thank you very much for watching the video, and let's see if I can catch some fish. Is there going to be a thunderstorm? What's it looking like? Oh dear. Yeah, so the rivers are actually quite full right now. The water level's really high. So not the best conditions for catching fishing. But never mind. I've been waiting for the rivers to open up of ice for quite a long time. So right, let's look for some lures and a fishing rod.